This is Bob Flaws again with Blue Poppy, and I'm continuing on with my short little histories of famous doctors of Chinese medicine, and I'm going to talk now about the third of the four great masters of the Jin-Yuan dynasty. And this is the hugely famous Li Gao, also known as Dong-yuan, and sometimes now today, modern times, we call him Li Dong-yuan. Arguably, we can say Li Dong-yuan was the most famous, most important of the four great masters of the Jin-yuan. He accepted Liu Wansu's theory about the importance of heat as a disease factor. He believed that most diseases have heat evils as part of their disease mechanisms. However, he disagreed with Liu in terms of where this heat comes from. Li Dong-yuan emphasized the internal engenderment of disease and therefore the internal engenderment of heat. From the time of the Neijing and the Shahan Lun up to the Jin-Yuan dynasties, most of the emphasis in Chinese medicine was on the external contraction of disease evils. It was really Li Dong-yuan who said, no, in chronic diseases, enduring diseases, the main thing is the internal engenderment of disease, the internal engenderment of heat. And in particular, Li Dong-yuan believed that in chronic enduring diseases, most of the heat is engendered in association or in tandem with a spleen-qi vacuity. That it is a spleen-qi vacuity that leads to various types of depressive heat. We all know that if the spleen is vacuous, the liver can become depressed and then the qi becomes stagnant and this can create heat. It's also possible for spleen-qi vacuity falling downward to accumulate and become depressed in the lower burner, to obstruct the free flow, to depress the life gate ministerial fire. We all know that spleen-qi vacuity can lead to blood vacuity because the spleen is the ladder heaven root, the engenderment and transformation of the blood, and blood vacuity can fail to control yang. In other words, blood yin vacuity can fail to control yang, and we get internal engenderment of heat. This kind of internally engendered heat, always associated with some element of spleen vacuity, Li Dong-yuan referred to as yin fire. He called it yin fire because it's intimately associated with life gate ministerial fire, which is rooted in the yin part of the body, the lower burner. And that when this becomes depressed, it has a tendency to counterflow and flame upward. And so if you look at Li Dong-yuan's formulas, they all basically include spleen-qi supplementing medicinals. They all include qi rectifying medicinals. They typically also do include some heat clearing medicinals. So his formulas are famous as examples, as patterns for creating complex formulas for multi-pattern presentations. In China, eventually a saying was created, oh, for externally contracted diseases, think Shahan Lun, Zheng Zhongqing, the creator of the Shahan Lun. But for internally engendered diseases, think Li Dong-yuan as the model of how best to treat these kinds of conditions. So even to today, many famous Chinese doctors are adherents and proponents of writing formulas a la Li Dong-yuan, in the way that Li Dong-yuan crafted them. Li Dong-yuan's most famous book is called the Pi Wei Lun, the Treatise on the Spleen and Stomach, and Blue Poppy Press has translated that book, and so you can read Li Dong-yuan's original work, his Treatise on the Spleen and Stomach. And since we mostly treat patients with chronic diseases here in North America and in the Western world in general, this book is hugely important, and I recommend it very, very highly.